Welcome back. Now let's take care of the in-app purchases so that we can actually buy them. So in the game UI, I'm going to create a new button. So here, right click and then UI button. I'm going to call this one store button. I want it to be at the top right hand corner. So let's position it accordingly. Hold shift and the Alt key at the same time and put it at the top right hand corner. So let's change it back to portrait here. So there at the top you will see the button. Now let's change the size of it. I'm going to say something like 250 times 220. This should be good. Let's now change the text of the button. I'm going to use something like store here. Okay, and also let's make sure that we change the font size a bit. So I'm going to set that to 70, maybe even bold. Then change the color here a little bit if we want to. So change the color of the text if you want to. All right, so something like that. So this will now be our store that we have in our game. And now our store panel is super simplified. Let's first of all make sure that this close button is actually going to close our store panel. Okay, so here, let's see if it did that for the store panel. And here game object set active. Let's just see. And also let's take care of the store displaying, or the store button displaying the store panel also. I think it was set already, so this works. But now let's take care of displaying the store panel only if we click on the store button here at the top. So let's add a click event and let's add the store panel in, and then set active to, in this case, to be true. So make this checkbox true. And now let's see if the store button will actually open up the store panel. And we see that that is exactly what happens. Great. So now we can take care of displaying the individual items that we have there. So therefore it makes sense to make the store panel visible for us, at least for now. So now let's add an in-app purchase button. Okay. So not a default button, right click into the store panel and you will find that you have now this option, Unity in-app purchase. And I'm going to add this button here. And let me call this one 100k euros button. So this in-app purchase button is a normal Unity button, but with extra scripts from the in-app purchase package on it. These scripts are what are going to handle the in-app purchase operations. So let's change its position to be somewhere around, let's say 100. Well, let's first of all assign it towards the left. Okay, and then I want it to be at something like 120 or so. And actually this should be inside of the store panel. So let's make sure that it is going to be inside of it and then 120. This looks more like it. Maybe even 150 here. Now let's change its size as well. I'm going to use something like 280 times 150 or so. Yeah. Then I guess we need to put it a little further to the center. So find a good spot that you like. Something like that will be fine. And I'm going to change the text to 100k euro. Alright, and now back at our 100k euros button, you will see that it has not a button component, but an IAP button component. So an in-app purchase button component. And we cannot select any product IDs because we don't have any, but we can open up our in-app purchase catalog and you can see that the ID currently is empty. So you might recall how we called our IDs here. So you see here manager, 100k euros, remove ads. And we're going to use these in our project now. So in this case, as it is a 100k euros one, I'm going to use the 100k euro ID. And I'm going to add the product. Now, if I scroll down, I can find another product ID that is empty here at this point. So here that was the 100k euro. Let's add the second one, which I call remove ads, which is a consumable, and then finally another product which will be Manager. Okay, so that's how I called it in Google Play Store. It's really important that it's exactly written like it is called in our project, and you don't need these advanced information. These are going to be the different products that we have, the in-app purchase products. So then I'm going to automatically initialize Unity purchasing, which is recommended here at the bottom. This will make my life a little easier. At this point, we can close this window, and now we can select the products. In my case, I'm going to select the 100k euros as the product ID, because that's what I want to achieve with this button, by the way. So let me also change the size, something like this. Maybe it's too much. 50 seems to be okay. Still displays the 100k euro properly on my screen. So now let's duplicate this button here. So this 100k euros, and let's rename it. Let's call it remove ads button. And let's of course assign the right in-app purchase here. So the remove ads one. And then let's create another one. I'm going to name this one Hire Manager button, and let's use the manager here in the in-app purchases. Now of course we need to move those buttons around a bit, so let me go over to my UI here and move a little over. So we have 100k euro, then the second one will be remove ads, so let's change that to remove ads. And then, well, we can position it somewhere else, something like here, and then Hire Manager button. Let's move that down and to the side, something like that. And let's call it Hire Manager. Let's look at it, and that's roughly how it's going to look like in my case. Now, of course, we could position them on top of each other individually or next to each other, so it really depends. In my case, I think it makes more sense for me to center it. Actually, let me center it like so. The same goes for this one. Let me center it and set the X position to 0, and this one. That's the thing. You start with a value and then you realize maybe it's not as good as you thought, and then you play around with it until you find a good spot. So here this one is at, let's say, 400. This one will be at 0, and that bottom one will be at, let me check, maybe minus 400 then. Let's see if this is looking good. Okay, that looks fine. Now, of course, this is not pretty. It's not going to win an award for beauty, but that's how I'm going to set it up for now. As I said earlier, you could, of course, make this a lot nicer using other fonts, using extra graphics that you have, and you can even get them from the asset store if you want to. All right, now that we have our buttons ready, we only need to program our button events, which will be executed if the purchase operation was done successfully. So let's go ahead and create a new empty project or object here, which I'm going to call Store Manager. And then let's create a new script as well, which I'm also going to call Store Manager, and in one word, like so, Store Manager. Okay, let's check out the Store Manager. And by the way, also let's make sure that we assign the Store Manager to our Store Manager game object here. Let me reset the Store Manager. Let me drag that in there. All right, now let's go over to the code. So we are not going to require the start or update methods, but we're going to require a method that will increase our money by 100,000 if we purchase something. So here, let's add this method that will be executed once we purchase the 100k gold or euro. Okay, so let's use our money manager instance add money method and increase the value by 100. So here you would do whatever you want to execute once something is purchased. Okay, so this is one of the methods that I want to call, and in my case I'm just going to call this add money method, which is going to increase the profit or the money by 100,000. Now this value is just an arbitrary value. You could have used any other value if you wanted to. Then let's set up another method that will remove ads once this on remove ads purchase complete method will be called, I want to take care of removing ads. So if you remember, we had this monetization strategy script where we checked if the player prefs get int ads removed is set to 1. Because if it is set to 1, then we know that we bought the in-app purchase. So let's go ahead and use this. Let me copy that. Let me paste it in here, but we're not going to get the int, but we're setting the int ads removed to 1. So once we purchased the remove ads thingy, let's set the integer in the player prefs to ads removed. So this will now check every single time that the game runs. It will check that we remove the ads. If we did, then don't show the skippable video ads. And now finally, let's take care of the on hire manager purchase complete. So that's something that we haven't implemented yet, but we will do so later on. But at least we have this method ready already. So what we want to do here is we want to add a hire manager, which will help us to collect money, for example, or whatever else we wanted to do. So we still need to implement that, and then we can look back at this on hire manager purchase complete. Okay, now everything that is left to do is to save the script, go back to our project here. Let's go to the 100k euros button, and you can see here on purchase complete product. Here we have an option of what we want to execute. So here we can just go ahead and use our store manager. Let's drag them in here and then select the store manager scripts method called on 100k purchase complete. And that is pretty much it. So now we can purchase it. Now let's do the same thing with the remove ads. So here let's add an event and let's use our store manager and drag it in there. Use the store manager script and call our on hire manager purchase, well, not the one, sorry, on remove ads purchase complete. And then for the hire manager, let's do the same thing while we're at it. Even though the method doesn't do anything yet, we're going to change that later on. So let's drag in the store manager and then select the on hire manager purchase complete here. All right, now let's hit play. And let's see if this is going to work. So by the way, I want to make sure that my store is going to be hidden. So let's hide the store panel and let's run it again. And only once we click on the store button here at the top, the store will open up. Let's click on the 100k euros. And then, well, this is the ad that we had before. Let's click on 100k euros and you see the purchase went through. Well, that's because we're running it on our testing device, but you can now, of course, create a build of this APK. Once again, upload it to the Play Store once again as a new version, and then install it on your device to check if it's going to work properly. And note, however, that even if we download the new APK from the store after we uploaded it, we can test the in-app purchases for free. And we don't have to pay real money for it. That is because our game is not yet published. Okay, so that's something that you have to take into consideration when testing. Okay, so you will only really be able to test if the in-app purchase makes you, well, allows you to buy something once you get to actually publish the game. But you can at least trust Google that they will take care of the in-app purchases correctly, because we have set them up correctly, right? And we have made them available in our in-app purchase button, so all of it should work out fine. Okay, so now that we have that, let's take care of our manager, which will automatically collect our profits from the buildings. So see you in the next video.